In Iran, the government reaffirmed its peaceful stance on its nuclear program amid talks with the United States. Mexico gears up for Sunday's judicial elections. President Claudia Sheinbaum called on citizens to participate in this unprecedented vote in the country. In Honduras, the ruling Liberty and Refoundation Party confirmed Rixi Moncada as its presidential candidate for November 30th general elections. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The Iranian government reaffirmed its peaceful stance on its nuclear program amid talks with the United States. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi stressed that one of the Islamic Republic's principles in the nuclear debate is the rejection of hegemony. Araghchi also reaffirmed that peaceful nuclear energy is a non-transferable right, and the nation will continue to follow the path set out by the leader of the Islamic Revolution. The Foreign Minister also stressed that Tehran will not accept any demand to stop its enrichment. The World Health Organization warned that the population of the Gaza Strip is at risk of starvation while describing humanitarian aid deliveries as insufficient in the midst of a severe humanitarian crisis. According to the agency, thousands of people line up every day to receive a little food, while the Israeli regime aggravates the situation with constant armed attacks and bombings. UN spokesman also explained that aid operations that are ready to begin are being obstructed by the Israeli army in cooperation with the U.S. armed forces. In this sense, Michael Fakhri, UN Special Rapporteur on the right to food, affirmed that Israel is using humanitarian aid as bait to round up the people in order to drive them into militarized areas. And the Arab group in the United Nations categorically rejected the mechanism for the distribution of humanitarian aid in Gaza backed by the United States and Israel, calling it a violation of international law. The member countries accused Benjamin Netanyahu's government of using hunger as a weapon of war in Gaza, rejecting its new aid system as illegal. The group took the opportunity to insist on putting an end to the aggression against the Palestinian people by lifting all restrictions on humanitarian aid in the territory. In this regard, the envoy of the United Arab Emirates to the UN, Mohammed Abu Shahab, declared that the Security Council cannot stand idly by while hunger is used as a weapon of war. Palestinian authorities denounced that Israel maintains a colonial plan in the occupied West Bank. The Palestinian Foreign Ministry said that the illegal Israeli expansion and incursions into the West Bank require immediate action by the world. The office added that military aggressions, as well as assassinations, construction of new Israeli settlements and other crimes, seek to destroy the two-state solution. The Foreign Ministry stressed the need for international action to halt Israeli expansionist plans. The study revealed the environmental impact caused by greenhouse gas emissions during the Israeli aggression against Palestine. According to the New York-based Social Science Research Network, the long-term climate damage due to the destruction of Gaza, the removal of the rubble, and the reconstruction of program would be equivalent to 31 million tons of carbon dioxide. More than 20% of this figure has been caused by the Zionist army's bombing and use of its military vehicles alone, while another 30% comes from the more than 50,000 tons of weapons and military supplies sent to Israel by the United States. An activist from a human rights organization attempting to bring humanitarian aid to Gaza gathered this Saturday in Catania, Sicily, one day before their departure for the Middle East. Their last attempt to bring aid to Gaza was thwarted by a drone attack off the coast of Malta. This time, the activists will use the yacht Madeleine for the trip. On Saturday, the activists raised a Palestinian flag on the bow of the Madeleine, anchor of the Sicilian coast. Earlier this month, drones attacked the Conscience, another of the group's ships carrying aid to Gaza in international waters off the coast of Malta. The Freedom Flotilla coalition accused Israel of attacking its ships.
I know that every person that walks this planet from the next generation will talk about this moment. At the sum of all crises, exploitation, destruction of nature, oppressions in so many levels, skyrocketing everywhere. And everyone will talk about the genocide in Palestine, and everyone will ask, what were we doing on that moment? And I think that the most important thing that we received an historical calling, our generation received this historical calling to answer and do this great battle of our time. With all the combination of tactics and actions that we do, it is our historical duty to be doing what we are doing now.
Yes, we are trying to, we will go to Gaza, and we are aware of the risks, but we are also aware of the fact that Palestinians are the ones that are enduring everything, and to uphold humanity, to our humanity, we have to do everything in our power to use the freedom of movement that we do have. People in Gaza don't have freedom of movement. That's what the siege is doing to them for many, many years.
We have our first break coming up. Remember, you can join us on TikTok, teleSUR English. You'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. I'm going to be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Argentine government upholds its economic policies against retirees despite social rejection. The National Social Security Administration published their retirement and pension values as of June 2025. Among them, the special bonus of $60, frozen since March 2024. According to the executive, the special bonus will only be received by those who receive the lowest salaries, which currently stands at more than $250, after an increase of only 278%. Javier Milei's government refused to adjust salaries and pensions of millions of Argentine citizens affected by the economic crisis. And on Thursday, the government of Antigua and Barbuda issued a statement regarding allegations about a country's flag vessel carrying arms and ammunition bound for Israel. The communique reads, the Antigua and Barbuda Department of Marine Services and Merchant Shipping has been made aware of allegations that one of our flag vessels, the AC Opal, is carrying arms, ammunition, or supplies destined for delivery to the Israel Defense Forces or private Israeli defense contractors. In line with the Antigua and Barbuda's general obligations under international law and in keeping with the United Nations General Assembly and Human Rights Council resolutions, Antigua and Barbuda government and entities shall not facilitate the sale, transfer, and diversion of arms, munition, and other military equipment to Israel. And the latest report by the United Nations Office for Humanitarian Affairs found that violence in Haiti has increased since last April regarding food insecurity and access to basic services and education for children. In the most recent monthly report on the humanitarian crisis in the country, OSHA highlights that from the 1st to the 3rd of April, violence has increased in departments of Centro and Artibonite, with more than 67,000 people displaced. The intensification of violence as a result of the attacks by armed criminal groups since last March adds to the urgent needs such as shelter, water, food, health care, and protection. In this context, the most affected are women and girls as they are exposed to more risk of violence. The United States is undergoing a health crisis due to job cuts in health programs. State and local health departments responsible for sanitary inspections in restaurants, sewage monitoring, among other issues, are being downsized. According to experts, the Trump administration is cutting health spending, including $11 billion in federal support, plus it has laid off over 10,000 workers from national health agencies. These cuts threaten to undermine the routine work of the health system at a time when they are facing the deadliest measles outbreak since 1990. U.S. President Donald Trump escalates trade war and announces new tariffs on steel and aluminum. The U.S. President announced that the new taxes will increase from 25% to 50% and will take effect on June 4th. Trump assured that the doubling of tariffs seeks to strengthen U.S. control over the steel sector despite the participation of foreign capital. The announcement comes one day after an appeals court lifted the International Trade Court's block on Trump's tariff policy on imports from numerous countries and amid international rejection. And heavy rains in Nigeria have left at least 151 people dead and some 20 missing in the west of the country. The disaster submerged some 50 houses and destroyed acres of farmland, affecting at least 1,500 people, 200 of whom were displaced. Although floods are common in the country, inefficient infrastructure and the lack of prevention measures aggravate the impact of the emergency. In 2022, Nigeria suffered its worst floods in a decade, with a death toll of 600, while in 2020, 40 deaths were reported from the same phenomenon. We now have our second short break coming up. Before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. A final break, we're going to be right back with more. Welcome back. The President of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, reiterated her call for citizens to exercise their right this June 1st in the judicial elections. The President emphasized that all Mexicans are called upon to elect 9 members of the Supreme Court, 5 magistrates of the Judicial Disciplinary Court, and 2 members of the Superior Chamber of the Electoral Court of Judiciary. The National Electoral Institute reported that 7,773 candidates campaigned between March 30th and May 28th to obtain the citizens' vote. This first election by popular vote of judges, magistrates, and ministers of the court is a result of the judicial reform approved in 2024, aimed at ending corruption and influence peddling in the judiciary. And in Honduras, the ruling Liberty and Refoundation Party confirmed its presidential candidate, Rixi Moncada, for the general elections on November 30th at a large convention on Saturday. The National Engineers Coliseum in Tegucigalpa, more than 4,000 delegates endorsed the Libre candidate, who in the March contest was the most voted candidate among the 3 major parties in the Central American nation. Rixi Moncada resigned as Minister of Defense 6 months before the elections as part of her commitment to the law and the Honduran people. Nicaragua made progress in public health systems during the 18 years of Sandinista rule. A report from the Ministry of Health detailed that the number of hospitals increased from 33 to 77, while health centers expanded to more than 1,400 throughout the country. The report also revealed that in 2025, there were 178 maternity homes compared to 20 in 2007 as part of the national government's social policies. More than 100 homes for people with special needs, epidemiological laboratories, and other specialized centers were created. In El Salvador, Alejandro Enriquez and community leader Jose Angel Perez will continue detained for 6 months after a peace court decreed provisional detention for both. Enriquez and Perez faced the initial hearing of the criminal process for the crimes of public disorder and resistance. After the end of the hearing, lawyer Jaime Ortega confirmed that the judge decreed 6 months of provisional detention and the case passed to the pretrial stage. The defense of both detainees provided multiple elements to defend them, but this was not taken into account. The young men were captured after participating in a peaceful rally in which they asked President Nayib Bukele for support to stop an eviction of hundreds of farmers. In Russia, Ukrainian drones attacked residential areas in Kursk Oblast. Local authorities reported that in the Rixi region, 2 residential buildings were set on fire as a result of the attack, while in the village of Artakovo, 2 other buildings were set on fire as a result of the Ukrainian aggression. The residents were evacuated. However, 7 people, including 2 minors, were injured. Emergency services and fire departments were on the scene to attend to the fire. Also in Russia, naval exercises began in the Baltic Sea, simulating clashes with potential enemy forces. Russian vessels fire artillery rounds and use automatic weapon systems in order to destroy floating naval mines. Also, as part of the exercises, a diesel submarine launched a torpedo against a surface ship target of a potential enemy. In addition, a specialized sabotage counter-forces detachment surveyed the waters adjacent to the bases and practice preemptive anti-sabotage grenade launches. On Saturday, May 31st, Caracas will once again is the scene of the Viva Fest India and You, which will share the tradition of the Asian country with Venezuelan. Throughout the day, Indian culture and art delights visitors in a free encounter where an exchange of ancestral knowledge and traditions between the 2 countries will be offered. Within the program of activities available, the public will be able to enjoy exhibitions of handicrafts and typical costumes, vegetarian gastronomy, yoga classes, meditation, dances, and mandala workshops. The event also seeks to bring the people of Caracas closer to the rich essence and spirituality of India. And China celebrates the Dragon Boat Festival and declares a 3-day nationwide holiday. The festival is one of the oldest Chinese traditions, commemorating the poet and minister Ku Yuan. Nowadays, numerous boats are decorated as dragons, competing in teams to the rhythm of drums, symbolizing the Ku Yuan's rescue attempt, who drowned in the Milwo River. The festival is also linked to ancient rituals to bring rain and a good harvest. In this context, the Transport Ministry reported that a peak of about 38 million trips is foreseen during the holiday. At this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.